Welcome guys to the second lecture in our color scheme section. So we're going to kick it off with the monochrome colors. So for the next few lectures, we're basically going to be talking about what it is and how it's used. And this is the staple for the next few lectures in terms of the color schemes. So talking about monochromatic. So what is it? Basically, it's the shade, tone, and tint of a single hue of a color. And if we looked in our previous lecture, we talked about what hue, shade, tone, and tint were. Hue basically being something that is a color. So for example, let's take the color red on the right. So monochromatic is basically the different layers or different tones of that specific color and only that color. Now, in order to attain a tint, add white to the hue of the color or mix it together. And to create a shade or a tone, adding black, gray, or darker colors into that mix. So how is it used? Well, the main use of monochromatic is to attract attention, create a focusing point, and help things become more legible. And it also provides a stronger visual cohesion and support for communicating objectives. So for example, looking at our image on the right. So if we were to look at this image, the first thing that pops out right away is the sun, the brightness of yellow. And as we know, this is different tones of yellow and different shades and tints of yellow. So this is the monochromatic sense of yellow. And as we see, the darker hues of yellow basically outline the structure of the buildings. And as we see in the far distance, we basically see the yellow tone as if it's an objective point of where we must go. So this layout is pretty well defined using monochromatic color scheme with yellow to define the objectives that the user has to get to. Now, this is a scheme that is easily to manage and will always look balanced. And the use of tints and tone enhances this scheme. So keep in mind, if ever you want to use monochromatic in your scene, make sure that you balance it pretty well with tints and tones to make sure that whatever objective or overlaying emotion you want to create to the player is well balanced. And so this scheme is great for games that use color as a mechanic. And what I mean by that is, using different palettes of monochrome in your game allows you to create different types of feelings and emotions pertaining to what they're used for. So it's always good to know what colors are used for what specifically. So as you can see here on the image that we have, if this was, let's say, a game that we want to create blue as a color mechanic, the lighter blue is, that is the further that we have to reach. And that is the points that we have to get attained to. So the player sees that he has to get closer to the lighter shades of blue. The darker shades of blue are pretty much the areas that he's been able to receive. I'm just giving an example of how, this would be great to use. So obviously lighter being something the player has to attain. And that's basically it, guys, for how monochromatic color scheme is used and what it is. And I'll see you guys in the next one.